I'm Khodi Feiz. I'm an industrial designer based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. And together with my wife and partner, she's a graphic designer, we run Feiz Design Studio. I was born in Iran, and together with my family, when I was 14, we moved to America. I studied in America in Syracuse University, and I also worked in America for 4 years for Texas Instruments, a large electronics company there in Texas. And being young and curious, being a little bit interested in the whole European design scene in the 80s, I decided to move to Europe. I got a job at Philips Electronics. It's a large consumer electronics company based in the Netherlands. And I worked there for 8 years, and that's where I met my wife. And we moved to Amsterdam and we started Feiz Design Studio there. We see every project which comes through the studio as a nice challenge. Whether it's small or large and complex, it doesn't matter. We always strive to find that particular inspiration point where we can kind of build upon. My philosophy has always been based on 3 main pillars. One is being the clarity, how objects can communicate easily to you, the perception of the object, then concept behind the product, where if you walk by a chair and you have to look twice to see that little detail or that nuance, and the third being the context, which is very important in my work, where we need to understand where things happen. If it's a medical piece of equipment, who is the user, where does it get used, what type of applications does it need, compared to a dining chair in a cafe. So those 3 always play a role in our work, and that's where we take inspiration from. In terms of which types of projects interest us, more or less, that's a very, very difficult question to answer, because we actually set up our studio to be able to work on a multitude of different design projects. To me, design is an act of creativity, and it doesn't matter what you apply your creative thought process, your problem solving towards, you should be able to manage it. And sometimes areas which you don't know of, being a naive can have a huge positive impact, and could describe new opportunities and new ideas where an expert would have never thought, because it would have probably not been possible. Or so we dare to ask the questions and dare to go through those types of issues. And each project is different. Consumer technology is full of constraints, and designing furniture is wide open to your imagination. So that's why we like to work on that kind of realm of different projects. Throughout the years, I've become more and more, let's say, aware of how important it is that we address our users properly. And we can say very simply, well, the user is the end user. But it's not the case all the time. If you think about a piece of medical equipment, it's the technician, it's the doctor, it's the nurse, it's the facility management. It is finally the patient as well. So being able to wear all those types of hats and actually abstract and understand all of those different types of user needs becomes very important, and actually very interesting, very beautiful. That's where the new ideas come from, by really creating scenarios for the different channels in that sense. If I think back, I think one very nice challenge, I would call it more in the sphere of meta design, the broader scope of design, was when I was asked in 2014 to become the art director for Artifort. It's a furniture brand in the Netherlands. And this type of job I had never done. I had to kind of grow into it and learn about it. But it turned out to be a very wonderful challenge because it's not just designing anymore. It's much more like a conductor trying to create a definition for a brand through its design, through its design partners, through its development, through its production, through its whole image. And that kind of holistic definition is very beautiful, and I find it a really nice challenge, and I enjoy it very much. It will be in January. We will be launching a new project with Studio TK from Teknion, and I'm very proud of this project. It's a project which talks about collaboration. It talks about privacy. It talks about open spaces. It talks about enclosures. So I think it's a simple project, but with a lot of different meanings and applications to it. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And it's in its last phases where the details count, and every millimeter and every application of material and those kind of things become very, very important. So I enjoy that phase very much. To me, style is a accumulation of all your experiences throughout your life. You know, when I was a kid, growing up in Iran and going to the farm and picking grapes had an influence on me to going to school, to going to America to study, then moving to Europe. So this kind of, for me, all these kind of experiences throughout, maybe I call it more of a nomadic experience, has created me. And that means that's my style. And I would say this mixture, I think it's very clear in my style. It's very expressive. It has its own signature. It's not too shy, but at the same time, it has a certain international characteristic to it. I remember when I was in 7th grade, I had a geography teacher. And I really, really enjoyed this class, the idea of learning about this world, you know. And he always used to tell us, observe, observe, observe. And whether it would be sitting in the school bus looking out the window at the fruit peddlers or at the traffic, whatever, that became kind of inherent in me, to observe and to look at things in a little bit more in-depth way. And that has continued. I enjoy traveling. I really enjoy seeing new things, but I can also be inspired purely by elements and objects close to me. A building could have some potential inspiration in maybe a pen that I'm designing, and perhaps eyeglasses could have implications on a structure for a piece of furniture. So I think that whole idea of observation has stayed with me, and I really enjoy that. At university, when I was studying design, I was also taking classes in painting. Since I was little, I was drawing and painting all my life. And when I went to university, I had no idea what industrial design was. We were lucky enough that when I went to the art school, their art and architecture school was together, and you had a basic year that you would do all the different disciplines, and then after that, you would apply for a particular curriculum. And that's where I discovered industrial design. My eyes opened up to it, and oh my God, of course, people have to design everything all around us, objects and furnitures and everything. It was really an eye-opener for me. So I started that, but I didn't stop painting. And at certain moments, I was very much into painting, and I asked my painting professor, I'm a little bit stuck. I don't know if I should go direction design or direction painting. He very bluntly said, well, if you go direction design, you'll always have money to buy paint to paint. But unfortunately, he forgot to tell me that you will not have any time to paint. But now I'm happy I chose this direction. Indeed, but both are very creative, but with different meanings. And for me, creating objects where people all around the world get to use is something of a blessing. So many of our work, there has been constraints. So when you kind of let go of the leashes, this idea of a carte blanche becomes very, very interesting. I've been thinking about it for a while. I see, especially in mobility, there's a huge amount of change. If we talk about the shift from gasoline-based mobility to electric mobility, and now that shift of autonomous mobility, I think that's very interesting. If we are sitting in cars, in autos, which we don't need to be driving, we don't need to kind of steer, what would that object be? I'm sure it wouldn't, or I would never design it the way it is now. So that I think could be really, really wonderful to see, kind of from a very indeed naive point of view, what would that be a result of, and how you could kind of develop such an object, such a project for the future. On one side, we as a design studio and I have become much more conscientious about what we make. So that inherently, I think, just subconsciously helps us already before a start of a project, put ingredients in there so that we can think about it throughout that process. Where maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it would be always the other way around. And I noticed that also my clients are asking for it and demanding that. So I think that these two sides coming together is very interesting. And of course, sustainability has so many ramifications and so many possibilities. A sustainably produced chair has a whole nother meaning than a sustainably produced mobile phone, an object which is obsolete after 2 or 3 years, and an object which can be passed down from generation to generation. So I think that's very important to understand, and not just apply a source of sustainability over everything, but to really analyze what the products are and what they do and their impact to society and what is meaningful for them. If I look back spontaneously, I would say the best advice I got was from my uncle. A few years back, maybe 10 years ago, I was very busy with our work and with our projects and with developing our studio and all that. And he asked me, so how do you feel? Are you happy? I said, yeah, I'm really happy. I really like what I do. And then he said, and where do you want to go? And I said, well, it would be nice in some years to go there and there and there. And he said, remember, the only way you can go to those places is that you always add an extra risk factor. You know, if you're comfortable and you're happy, that's really good. But sometimes you also need that extra bit where you sometimes need to wake up at night and say, oh my God, did I do this right or wrong, or should I have done this or not? And that gets you to places where otherwise you would be very comfortable with not going. And I think that was a very, very nice advice for me. Maybe now I would say, I don't know about it, but I really, really appreciate it. It helped me a lot. In terms of giving advice to others, especially aspiring designers or people who would be interested in studying design, I have to say that designing is an extreme, yeah, it's a creative act, and it is an act which is very, I think, labor intensive and very passion oriented. If you have passion for what you do, that's fantastic. If you are just studying something to become a designer, then it becomes much more difficult because it's very hard to find those nuances, stay late at night to try to crack that nut, you know, to make sure you get it there. Having that kind of sensitivity to beauty and aesthetics. So all of these are all very ephemeral, soft issues which are really connected to design. And if we just purely treat it as an academic endeavor, it will never succeed. So as a designer, I always tell our interns or students who come to our studio that you should definitely find that passion inside of you. Otherwise, better do something else. My life is not very complicated because I have a very huge anchor in my work, my passion, my design. I don't even call it work, it's some kind of a strange hobby that you have to keep on doing and you don't stop thinking about it. And on the other side, of course, I have my family, my two grown-up boys and my wife, and we have our extended family all over the world, and that makes it very beautiful. But outside of that, I have some strange interests too. I grew up in America. I'm a little bit of a petrol head, so I really like to tinker with cars and be involved in that kind of scene of old timers and making projects out of it and those kind of things. Still, drawing and painting is part of my life. I like to do that. Basic interests like football, Amsterdam, Ajax, or those kind of things. Yeah, they occupy me, and I really like that. I think as a designer, you need to also be in touch with that side and not only be immersed into your work. You need to also have that finger in the pulse in your community and in the world in general. So.